Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Top 10 Terrorist Events, Opening Inventory of Biochemical Crisis. Wuxu obtained the exposure system as soon as he traveled through it. With the horror films exposed in my memory, I never expected that they were all real existence in this world. Umbrella Company. Hehe, how could there be a crisis of leakage in our research? Sadako. Do you think I didn't have a chance to enter the top 10 terrorist events? Fujiang. Hahaha, I don't know where this beautiful woman will rank. Nie Xiaoqian. This exposure system seems quite powerful. Qilin brother. Will the secret of the Bronze Gate also be exposed? The Joker gave an evil smile. No matter who you are, I will pull you out from behind that light curtain. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Spiritual Events on Campus. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Longshore University, with an incident that occurred yesterday, rumors suddenly spread everywhere. At 8 o'clock this morning, the scene was sealed off by a cordon, making it impossible to peek. Ordinary students only heard a little bit of the news. But ultimately, there was a bit of news leaked. Have you heard that one of my senior students died mysteriously? Strange death. How bizarre is it? At that time, someone in her group said that everyone else had left and only she remained in the classroom, so no one noticed her and it was unclear how she died. It is said that she was found soaking in a formalin bathtub, with no injuries to her body, but only her fingers were bruised and her eyes widened, as if frightened. Scared. Did you drown in formalin? The formalin was already filled with a corpse specifically designed for dissection, which makes the thought even more insidious. Maybe I accidentally slipped my foot and fell into it. But that doesn't make sense. How could a bathtub not stand up for an adult woman's height? For a moment, the whispers between students intensified the discussion of this death incident. On this day, Wuxu's ears kept receiving discussions from students about this incident. He didn't feel much about it, after all, he was a great young man with a strong foundation, and he was completely indifferent to these supernatural sayings. And he has just traveled to this blue star, and he only has a partial understanding of the situation in this world. But when others cross over, they are all blessed with golden fingers and surrounded by beautiful women. How come when they reach him, they become nothing? Wujian couldn't help but twitch at the corner of his mouth, recalling his bank balance of 0.200 yuan. Yes, even in a state of debt. The voices of students are becoming increasingly diverse, including theories of homicide and ghosts, as well as coincidences. The occurrence of an event is caused by countless coincidences. The death of the senior sister was probably due to a coincidence of being the last to leave the classroom and the last to close the equipment in the classroom. She also coincidentally fell into a bathtub filled with formalin, possibly due to nervousness, unable to stand up from the formalin liquid for a while, ultimately leading to her death. Coincidentally, after the intervention of the police today, we quickly learned about the case based on the verdict of the deceased's accidental death. Just thinking about it, everyone in the same classroom had an alibi, and the deceased had no wounds on their bodies. The wounds on their hands were also judged to have caused them to panic and grab the edge of the bathtub when they fell into formalin liquid, ultimately leading to accidental death. With the end of this death incident, life at Longshore University briefly returned to tranquility. However, this surface calmness was not maintained for long before it was once again shattered. Longshore University is once again shrouded in dark clouds, and the atmosphere of the school is even more melancholic, like molten iron that is so thick that it cannot dissolve. This is already the third death incident in this school, Jiang Xingyun said as he emerged from the police car and looked up at the familiar building in front of him, frowning uncontrollably. That's right. And coincidentally, the first 3 deaths were all settled by accidental deaths, said Jiang Xingyun, calmly flipping through the information in his hand. The victim of the first case was Cui Xiaoya from the clinical medicine department in her junior year, who accidentally fell into a formalin bathtub and died. The victim of the second case was Wang Xiongjuan from the finance department in his sophomore year. He was found dead in his own bed while living in the dormitory, with no wounds on his body. After these two death cases, the school installed surveillance cameras in every classroom and corridor at the request of people from all walks of life, and security guards patrolled different floors every night. However, even in such circumstances, the third case still occurred. The deceased in the third case was Zhou Lin from the senior chemistry department, who found residual KCN, potassium cyanide, in his stomach. However, the key issue was that from the surveillance footage, it was the deceased who extracted this can of reagent from the safe and immediately drank it without hesitation. These are just 3 cases that have occurred at Longshore University in the past month, and the police have suspected that someone has used covert methods to commit the crime. However, unfortunately, there is really no trace at the scene, and the 3 victims mentioned above have no object of malice, making it impossible to talk about a revenge incident. They also doubted whether the 3 deceased had any commonalities, but after investigation, they found that the only commonality was that when they died, their expressions seemed to be that they had seen something very shocking, but apart from that, they found nothing. Returning to now, it is already the 4th case that has occurred. Now students feel anxious when they see the police entering the campus. The police are here again. This is already the 4th time that the police have entered our school this month. Isn't this school being targeted by the Grim Reaper? I feel creepy in class now. As if someone is staring at me. Worry the sky. The previous cases were all suicides, and these people didn't want to live anymore. The third person can already prove it from the surveillance footage. What kind of talk about gods and ghosts? It's all fake, it's all fake. With the sound of discussions among classmates, Yi Wujin also looked out the window. The small path next to the classroom where they are located is a necessary path for everyone to enter building 2. I think this is where the crime occurred this time. A few police officers had no time to pay attention to these curious and afraid students, and walked straight to the crime scene with great strides. Yi Wuxu looked at the back of the group, but suddenly a voice came to his mind, and a floating semi-transparent panel appeared in front of him. Matching successful. Activating. Congratulations to the host for activating the exposure system, successfully exposing ghosts or supernatural events. Collect shock points and receive various rewards. Exposure. Ghosts and supernatural events. Yi Wuxu listened to the systematic explanation in his ear, seemingly calm, but in his heart, a towering storm had already stirred up. He had not yet had a chance to rejoice in obtaining the golden finger when he heard the system's words. The world he is in doesn't seem as peaceful as it appears on the surface. Yi Wujin's eyes were filled with excitement from the beginning, but there was no fear. This page preview technology is provided by Yongzhong DCS. Chapter 2. Counting the top 10 terrorist events, ranked 10th. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After calming down his excitement, Yi Wujin also lowered his mind and took this issue seriously. Is there really a supernatural event in this world? Is it possible that the recent events in their school are related to supernatural or supernatural beings? Among the events that occurred in the school before, although it may seem like a suicide case for an ordinary person at first glance, upon closer examination, the police's closure may have been too hasty. It's like deliberately avoiding something. If this world actually has a supernatural background, many problems can be easily solved. Through the systematic explanation, Yi Wuxu has gained a general understanding of this exposure system. However, Yi Wuxu currently doesn't have much understanding of this world, so he still brought in some of the plot from the horror movies he traveled through before that world. Let's first randomly expose a biochemical crisis he has seen before and try the effect. Yi Wuxu thought this way and, following the system's guidance, effortlessly edited the monsters in the Resident Evil and the rough plot of the first movie he had watched. Biochemical Crisis. When Alice woke up, she found herself in the core honeycomb of the umbrella company, where a carefully crafted biochemical crisis was unfolding. Someone smashed a test tube containing the T virus, infecting the people inside the hive, becoming zombies and higher-level lickers and tyrants. The management system of the Beehive, known as the Red Queen, issued an order to contain this biochemical crisis, ordering all infected individuals to die in the Beehive. Alice and some uninfected companions fought against the zombies while searching for opportunities to leave the hive. In the end, only Alice and her partner Matt escaped, but when they came out, they were subdued by the Umbrella staff and became experimental subjects for the next plan, and the identities of the Lickers and Tyrants were described in detail by Wuxu. Lickers. Their eyes degenerate without vision, and their hunting relies entirely on their keen hearing. Walking, running, and even breathing and heartbeat cannot escape their ears. They cannot walk upright, but can rely on strong limbs and claws to climb upside down on walls or even roofs. Tyrant. Tyrant. The biological weapon sent by Umbrella Company to recycle the G virus. Each model is also constantly changing, and each work cannot be said to be a linear enhancement, but is optimized in different focuses, resulting in different types of tyrants. After Wuxu confirmed that there were no errors, he clicked on Confirm. Exposure completed, currently generating. Placement completed. Successfully exposed, you will receive the following rewards. 1T.Virus modified drug, please strictly follow the instructions for use. 10 million RMB reward host, please continue to work hard and expose the existence of these supernatural characters. The system has sent a long string of rewards. Wujian also felt that there was an additional can of reagent emitting a light blue liquid in his bag. It seems that this reward will still be credited immediately. However, what Wujian was unaware of was that at the moment he successfully clicked to send, the long series of biochemical crisis materials he had written were appearing on the entire blue star in the form of a light screen. Oh my goodness, what is this? Look in mid-air. Aliens invading Earth. The light curtain in this void has appeared all over the world, attracting countless people's attention, with expressions of curiosity and a hint of fear on their faces. And after seeing the light curtain, the high-level officials of various countries also became very solemn in their expressions. After all, in terms of the technological content of this light screen, it is not yet something that Blue Star can crack today. Inventory of the top 10 terrorist events. 10th place. Resident Evil. Biochemical Crisis. What is this again? The top 10 terrorist events. Is this referring to something that has already happened in the real world? Many people were intimidated by the words that appeared on the screen of light before they could confirm what it was. And the meaning it contains is even more terrifying upon careful consideration. Is it something that has already appeared in reality? Not only that, but what surprised everyone was that this semi-transparent panel floating in mid-air could be used to register an account and send barrage messages for interaction with one's mind. Oh. What is this? A transparent screen floating in mid-air. And can I also fire bullet comments? Ha. What exactly is it? Exposure system. What does it mean? Do you still want to expose us who exist? With this barrage, many people also noticed the ID of the person who said this sentence. Jia Yizi. What kind of ID is this? Do island people like to use their names as IDs? Hahaha, I really don't quite understand the brain circuits of these island people. But this thing is quite interesting. In a desolate and uninhabited place, a man with dark green hair stumbled along the road, his purple suit seemingly still stained with large blood stains. He lifted his head and looked at a screen suddenly emerging from the void. He looked at the sky with great interest, his eyes full of madness and playful thoughts. In this world, there are not many ordinary humans who can know their existence, but the thing that appears before their eyes seems to directly expose their existence to the public. The clown still had his crazy outfit, his overly pale cheeks, and green hair that seemed very crazy. His thin fingers reached into mid-air, as if trying to touch the translucent panel in the void. He was still humming a song in his mouth, listening like the tone of his every happy mood. Interesting. The clown looked at the words constantly appearing on the screen, and the interest in his eyes became increasingly excited. He thought for a moment, and the blood-red corners of his mouth cracked open, then he sent a barrage. "Hey buddy, the show's started." This barrage from Joker did not catch anyone's attention, but only Yi Wujin, who was observing everyone's reactions through the exposure system backend, noticed it. Is the ID called Joker? The barrage sent is still a familiar line for the Joker. Yi Wuxu wanted to view the specific information of this ID, but the system indicated that his permissions were not currently sufficient. Don't rush for a moment. Moreover, the special prompt from the system precisely indicates that the origin of this Joker is not ordinary. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Familiar names and familiar terrorist figures. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yi Wujin pressed his curiosity towards Joker in his heart, continuing to watch through the barrage as everyone reacted to his exposure of the biochemical crisis. Ordinary people may not yet know that there are real supernatural events in their world. Most people think that the light curtain in front of them is just a joke or a prank between friends. The video footage in the light screen is still constantly scrolling, and everyone is temporarily letting go of their tasks. Stare closely at the scene in the light curtain. After a brief text introduction about the biochemical crisis, a slightly three-dimensional image appeared on the screen. Firstly, the logo of the umbrella company appeared, and then the screen changed, slowly revealing a three-dimensional structure resembling a honeycomb. The screen switches again, and in the laboratory, a bottle of medicine is broken by someone. The clear blue liquid begins to flow on the ground, and finally the liquid gradually disappears, seemingly absorbed by the surface. Seeing this, ordinary people who still don't know what the image in the light curtain represents are very curious about the light curtain in the void. What's even more magical is that they can also give themselves a nickname on their own. Later, what surprised everyone even more was that there was a link between his own thoughts and the light curtain. After linking with the light screen, their thoughts can instantly form text on the light screen and be sent. The number of people in the upper right corner of the light screen is constantly increasing, which also means that more and more people are connecting to the light screen. In the end, the number of people reached 11 digits, and the first digit immediately stopped. All organisms have been connected. Yi Wujin was in the background of the exposure system when he saw a window pop up. At the same time, he can also monitor everyone's speech records in the background. All living beings. Do you mean that it's very likely that it's not just humans who can connect to the exposure system? Yi Wujin raised his eyebrows and muttered to himself. The meaning of biology is very different, perhaps including some non-human organisms that can also be connected to the light screen and communicate like ordinary people. But ordinary people who were not yet aware of this matter became extremely curious about the interactive links in the barrage, and many people began to communicate and discuss in the barrage. WOC, can anyone see the barrage I posted? It's so amazing. I can actually display it with my mind. Isn't it? Haven't you noticed what these things are? It seems like they have surpassed the current technological realm, right? Is this a three-dimensional picture? It looks very three-dimensional. After a piece of text entered by Yi Wujin appeared in the light screen, the screen began to evolve into a documentary-like scene. The characters in the picture are like living beings, accompanied by movements and voices of conversation. From the general conversation of this team, it was learned that they are currently facing difficulties in an experiment and the project is stalled. Oh, isn't this the umbrella company in Raccoon City? What's going on? Make it look exactly the same. Hahaha, is this light curtain for us to show a movie? Is this the liquor and tyrant that was explained before the light curtain? Licking eaters. Tyrants. Making up stories can be a bit like it. And for this t.virus, naming should also be taken seriously, right? It seems like typing a letter from the keyboard. There are also zombies and so on. Have I traveled to the end of the world? Hahaha, my imagination is too severe, isn't it? However, to be honest, this 3D modeling is done quite well, and it seems that the person who did it must have put in a lot of effort. Hahaha, this exposure system doesn't really think it can expose anything, does it? Is it? Something terrifying has already noticed us, otherwise how could someone have exposed us? An inconspicuous barrage flashed across the screen, and only a very small number of people noticed it. A sentence sent by a user named Black Mountain Demon. Black Mountain Demon. The horror and ghost films that Wuxu was familiar with before his travels no longer exist here. Ordinary people are even less clear about what the Black Mountain Demon is, let alone pay attention to the comments behind this ID. Just as a barrage sent by someone with ulterior motives to cause panic among the public. The first reaction of countries after seeing this light curtain is to find the person behind it, but they are not very concerned about the content inside the light curtain. After all, the technology of light screens is not something they can achieve today. Raccoon City. The dense and surging crowd on the street couldn't help but stop at the moment and the light curtain appeared, looking towards the light curtain in mid-air. With the introduction of the exposure system one by one, ordinary residents of Raccoon City also looked at the center of the entire city with incredulous eyes. The Umbrella Company. If we talk about the most famous buildings in Raccoon City, it is probably the Umbrella Protection Company. Even if you look from the outermost part of the city, you can see the Umbrella Protection Company logo between various high-rise buildings. It is such an iconic company, whose operations are closely related to the city of Raccoon, and it is also the most trusted company among the citizens of Raccoon. However, with the changes in the light screen, what shocked everyone was that according to the evolution of the images in the light screen, the Umbrella Company was actually related to the top 10 terrorist events. Does this not mean that these residents are now living around terrorist events? At this moment, within the Umbrella Company, all busy employees also saw this transparent panel floating in mid-air. After seeing the information exposed by this light curtain, ordinary employees of umbrellas only treated it as a joke. Even after seeing the plot appearing in the light curtain, the Umbrella Company confidently issued a wave of announcements throughout the city. Let the general public not worry. After investigation, there have been no issues within the Umbrella Protection Company, and the incident mentioned in the light curtain that appeared in mid-air is just a fabrication and has nothing to do with the Umbrella Protection Company. They will also conduct the most rigorous investigation on the person who sent this light curtain. The timely announcement of the protective umbrella also calmed down the previously restless crowd in Raccoon City. The Umbrella Company has been completely infected with the T-virus internally, and these employees also feel shocked and amused. But the appearance of beehives or liquor tyrants afterwards made them feel very outrageous. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 4 Exposure. T.virus begins to spread. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The underground city Beehive is operated independently by the artificial intelligence Red Queen, and there is also an independent system for electricity and energy. Even employees of the Umbrella Company for many years have not discovered that the Beehive is actually under their own feet. Moreover, there is a huge beehive under the company, which contains various high-end technologies and organisms that have never been seen before, which is somewhat unrealistic. After mocking the exposure system that came out of nowhere, the employees of the Umbrella Protection Company shook their heads and began to lower their heads to do their own work. But unlike ordinary employees, when the executives of umbrella companies see the light curtain, their expressions are first skeptical, followed by surprise. When the familiar buildings appeared above and the key character Alice, whom they had originally planned, appeared, their hearts skipped a beat. Is this light curtain real? Or perhaps there have been spies within them. The expressions of the several high-level members of the Umbrella were more serious, and they also paid a little more attention to the authenticity of this light curtain. However, as they continued to watch the plot, it made them feel like they couldn't even laugh. They saw the drug containing the T-virus being smashed to the ground by a man who couldn't see his face. The T-virus began to evaporate in the air, and soon after, it began to spread throughout the entire hive. When they saw the ordinary people in the picture starting to transform towards zombies, they had already relaxed their mentality. It seems that this is treating our umbrella company as a fantasy worldview, said one umbrella executive with great humor. How could we have such foolish employees? Besides, the Red Queen will definitely make a difference, another person shook their head and smiled. Although they do have a plan about Alice that needs to be carried out in the hive, many of the things exposed on this interface are baseless, let alone ordinary people turning into zombies. Looking back, several high-level executives who were aware of the existence of the Beehive under the umbrella had already treated it as watching movie special effects. Hahaha, do you want our company to research and develop this virus first? It's so funny, the people behind this exposure system are also too humorous. Does he really think he can grasp information about the T-virus faster than us? To be honest, we are not yet confident in completely conquering the T-virus, and what he said about tyrants and lickers is too sci-fi. It's just speculation, where are zombies? This is not scientific at all. After all, the biochemical crisis mentioned in the light curtain is still too far away from ordinary people, and even ordinary citizens in Raccoon City do not believe that the biochemical crisis mentioned in it will bring any changes to their current lives. Several senior executives who were aware of the inside of the Beehive did not take it seriously at all, and did not even contact the Beehive staff. Although the technology of the light screen is not something that umbrella companies can currently involve, the plot direction in the light screen is completely absurd for umbrella companies. I'm afraid they haven't even realized at this moment that the biochemical crisis played in the video is quietly approaching them with Wujian's exposure. Beehive. At the moment when the T-virus began to spread to the entire hive, the scene played in the light curtain. In reality, a bottle of medicine emitting a bright blue light quietly fell to the ground. The staff in this room also saw the plot of the light curtain, and he had no fear at all. Instead, he watched it with relish. I didn't even notice the situation from behind. 1 hour later. The spread of the T-virus has swept through the entire underground city, followed by the Red Queen ordering the closure of all escape routes. 34 people have been infected with the T-virus and immediately block zone B1. 47 people have been infected with the T-virus, and all ventilation openings will be immediately blocked to ensure that the virus does not spread. Immediately block all programs and exits for cleaning. The emotionless voice of the Red Queen echoed throughout the entire hive, followed by a round of human cleansing. The people inside are unable to escape from the Beehive that has been completely blocked by the Queen, and are subsequently infected with the T-virus, becoming zombies, or killed by the Red Queen. When the employees realized that the situation was not right, there was no time to escape, and all escape exits had been completely closed by the Red Queen. The communication methods between the employees of the Beehive and the umbrella company above the ground have also failed, and now the Beehive is in chaos. However, some people have pinned their hopes on this sudden light curtain and started seeking help from the outside world through the light curtain. Honeycomb requests support. The virus has leaked, and the Red Queen has closed her escape route from the hive. She requests the outside world to leave and send personnel to the hive. What light curtain said is not a joke, not a joke. There's a monster. There's a monster. The T-virus is about to spread to the entire hive. But the door has been closed by the Red Queen, and we cannot escape from here. Can someone save us? There are really zombies inside the Beehive. Suddenly, several sets of bullet comments flashed across the screen, instantly attracting a large number of people's attention. However, the vast majority of people still do not take it seriously, only treating it as a barrage of back comments. Beehive. Hahaha, not to mention, this barrage is really well crafted. This joke is too big. What if someone really believes it? Wow, if that's true, can I go and visit, said the user named Billy. But many people have also noticed that one barrage was fired halfway, as if the consciousness link had been completely disconnected, only half of the barrage was fired. And this only half-bullet screen has already caused a hint of panic in people's hearts, but this feeling is quickly ignored. But there are still some vigilant people who have noticed something wrong. The barrage can be sent only by thought, and this barrage is only half, which indicates that the person sending the barrage suddenly interrupted their consciousness. And the reason behind it, I dare not dwell on it. Spiritual figures from all over the world clearly became interested when they saw this scene. The supernatural characters who didn't pay much attention to the light curtain were also eagerly watching. P.S. New books seek flowers, evaluation tickets, everything Qingming outing in happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 5. Is not a person at all, but a ghost. You are listening at novelful.audio. The clown still had the same crazy appearance, but unlike others, he noticed these barrage with obvious distress signals. These bullet comments are all self-proclaimed beehives seeking help from the outside world, but most of them do not take them seriously and still regard them as a plea for help from those behind the light curtain. No one believed the cries for help sent by these so-called staff members, and even if someone noticed, they were quickly obscured by other rapidly sliding barrage. The clown stared thoughtfully at the sliding of these bullet comments, his fingers continuously tapping on the table. Although these bullet comments do have suspicions of being taken care of by the people behind the light screen, relying solely on the technology of the light screen to give people a sense of surprise may be too boring. What makes the Joker doubt is that if this light curtain really has a prophetic nature, then there should be no survivors inside the beehive. He now has some faith in the preview of the light curtain. If the people in the beehive really turn into zombies, that would be interesting. Otherwise, he would also go to the beehive to find a zombie for an experiment or something. The Joker's eyes flickered with excitement, and several methods had already flashed through his mind. As a supernatural being, the T-virus that works for ordinary people is completely useless to him. He looked up again at the light curtain. The light screen is still playing synchronized scenes with reality, and the barrage on the side is still frantically refreshing. The existence behind this light curtain is quite interesting. The clown seemed to see the potential madness behind this light curtain like himself from back then. The clown's mouth once again gave a chilling smile, and now he really wanted to see what kind of characters were behind the light curtain, so that he could not only know their supernatural existence, but also have the ability to predict these events. However, it is still too early to talk about these things now. He decided to observe more about the direction of the plot after this light curtain before making a decision. Billy stood in the darkness, surrounded by incomplete corpses on the ground. He looked at the light curtain that appeared in the void with a dull expression. His expression masked by a mask was very strange. Umbrella Company. Beehive. It seems that I have found another place to play games. Billy's voice carried a rare joy as the chainsaw in his hand began to rotate. When the senior management of the protective umbrella realized that the situation was not right and wanted to contact the internal personnel of the hive through the barrage, they realized that the hive had already closed itself and wanted to communicate with the people inside through the barrage, but there was no response. At present, they can only understand the situation inside the beehive through a light curtain. The umbrella company currently has no way to deal with the situation inside the beehive, and has no choice but to report the current situation to the head of the United States, requesting military support. The military reinforcements came very quickly, and in just over a dozen minutes, multiple military helicopters stopped over the umbrella company. At the entrance of the umbrella protection company, fully armed troops rushed out from various armored vehicles and rushed towards the beehive below the company. The army has all arrived. It seems that what was said on the screen of light is true. These armies seem to be all elites. Even if there are really tyrants and lickers or something like that, it would be easy for these armies. Yes, the R-79 Special Forces of the United States, but the proud Army of the United States, have all been sent here now. It seems that the beehive is indeed very dangerous. Someone posted footage of the military appearing around the umbrella company on the internet, and after everyone discovered it, they continued to communicate through the light screen. The light screen is a comfortable way to send bullet comments in just one thought. Is a honeycomb so dangerous? The equipment of the special forces is also very advanced, and even against those monsters, they may not necessarily lose. But these monsters. Can the army really deal with them? If the military comes to protect the umbrella company, isn't there still 9 of the top 10 supernatural events in the light curtain? Does anyone really think that the army can eliminate these monsters? Maybe even monsters are ridiculous. Amidst the barrage of discussions, an ID named Sadako was suddenly added. Everyone didn't know the inside story about this ID, but couldn't help but retort when they saw her arrogant and bold speech. How about you go up there? The army can't do it, can you? You are truly the legendary keyboard warrior, Huanzhenzi. I'm laughing to death. At least obtaining an ID would have to be like a personal name. A person's name. Maybe they're not human at all, they're ghosts. The barrage in the light curtain mocked and said, little did they know that what they casually mentioned actually came true. However, only Yi Wujin, who was observing in the background of the light screen, knew that this ID was actually the classic terrifying image of Sadako in his original world. It can only be said that people on the Blue Star seem to be not afraid of death, Yi Wujin thought sympathetically. They can only view the current scene through the screen of light. All of this happening in the beehive coincides with the plot of the light curtain. The scene in the light screen is still ongoing. Many people have already turned into zombies, and some staff members have escaped into a specially designed laboratory, at least to ensure that the zombies outside the door and the liquor zombies cannot detect their presence. They were also temporarily able to barely survive. However, what they did not notice was that their colleagues around them already had an inconspicuous wound that had been infected and bitten by zombies. This person had a panicked expression on his face, but he quietly concealed the fact that he had been bitten by a zombie. He is still young, he still wants to live. There is still a way out. As long as they can get out of the hive, I believe people from outside must have a way out. At this moment, the few uninfected individuals who entered this area did not realize anything was wrong. They were still grateful that they had successfully escaped, and they only needed to wait for the military's rescue. Little did they know that they were already in a precarious state at this moment. What's going on with the barrage? Why are we all running away quickly? The people in the laboratory room in Zone B should leave quickly. Isn't that what they're saying here? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 6. The Massive Underground City. Beehive. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The person hiding in this laboratory had just relaxed and glanced at the barrage of light, but suddenly fell into a daze. Most of the bullet comments that flashed past were urging them to leave the place quickly. However, the barrage refreshed extremely quickly, and these people could only barely distinguish from the screen. Run away quickly, someone has been infected. What happened? Someone managed to merge thousands of bullet comments into this sentence. The meaning is that among these people someone is about to turn into a zombie. Before they could think it over, they heard a low whistle coming from the crowd. Everyone turned around in horror, only to see a staff member with a wound on his arm completely transformed into a zombie with only white eyes and blue-purple skin in the crowd. Perhaps only about a minute ago, he was still trying to cover up the injury on his arm, but in the blink of an eye, he had already transformed. A scream of terror came from the crowd. When the people around noticed the transformation of their colleague, there was no time to kill him and they could only watch him turn into a zombie. And the door of this laboratory has been completely locked, and these ordinary people who have not yet turned into zombies are completely hopeless. From the perspective of the light curtain, it can be seen that the people in this laboratory have been completely annihilated. Everyone in the laboratory was infected by the only zombie. But in reality, there is probably not much hope for this group of people to escape. In addition to the threat from zombies, there is also the gradually spreading T-virus, coupled with threats from lickers and tyrants. Moreover, outside the laboratory, there were many zombies and some lickers who heard the sound inside the door, waiting for the humans inside. The Red Queen decisively began to close the room where the T-virus leaked, but the T-virus has completely spread. What frightened the workers inside the Beehive even more was that some laboratory doors had been violently opened, and the original creatures inside had broken free from their original confinement and escaped. Lickers. Tyrant. This is the monster mentioned in the exposure of the light screen. On the way for a staff member to escape, suddenly something blocked his way. The staff let out a scream, even though he was shouting with all his heart and soul to escape. His body first collapsed to the ground, without skin, with only bright red flesh remaining, as if he could still see the beating meridians on it. The licker had already identified the food in front of them through their sound and scent, and extended their long mouthpiece, quickly thrusting at the staff. In the blink of an eye, the licker's mouthpiece had already penetrated the staff member's chest. Losing contact with the Red Queen, the umbrella company is no longer able to salvage the current situation, and can only rely all hope on the army entering the hive curtain. However, what they were unaware of was that some special sample organisms studied in the hive, after being infected with the virus, also underwent some kind of evolution over time. The scene in the light curtain has now turned into a human purgatory, with normal humans staying in the hive and unable to escape death. But in reality, the military is trying to enter the Beehive and rescue normal humans trapped in it. Who will save us? We can't wait any longer. In another hour, the oxygen supply system will completely fail. Has the army not arrived yet? I just saw my friend turn into a zombie with my own eyes. The original barrage has been reduced, but seeing a barrage similar to a distress call, it has once again crazily refreshed. Look, there's still someone alive inside the hive. But there is currently no news from the incoming army, and it may take some time to find the surviving personnel. Are zombies and lickers all real? I used to think it was just a joke. The military should have achieved some results now, right? At the time of the barrage sent by these self-proclaimed Beehive personnel, the umbrella company still did not give up and continued to try to contact the Red Queen. But the Red Queen has completely sealed off the entire hive and also shut down her own system, leaving only the power system to maintain the operation of basic equipment, allowing the entire hive to continue to operate. At this point, several senior executives of the umbrella company finally felt panicked. The Red Queen, who has lost contact, has completely lost control of the hive. After all, the interior of the hive is independently controlled by the Red Queen, and they can only be considered as external personnel without the authority to intervene. All of this happening in the underground city is happening in sync with the scenes in the light curtain. Sister, have they died? The twin sister in the shining spirit held her sister's hand and asked softly. Both of them have blonde hair and blue eyes, and their appearance is also very round and cute. However, the eerie aura around their bodies cannot be ignored. Dead, no one in this underground city can escape. Sister's gaze was very calm, and she also shook her sister's hand and said calmly. But what was said in the light curtain, Alice and Matt escaped. The younger sister seemed to recall the plot from the beginning of the light curtain and said again. These two people won't live long either, replied the older sister confidently. The twins sat on a sofa that had been stained deep red by some unknown liquid, cuddling each other, looking at the light curtain in mid-air with a hint of interest in their eyes. The two were somewhat curious about what was happening in this light curtain, but they also had no intention of interfering with it. If supernatural beings like them easily intervene, it is feared that human society will undergo tremendous changes as a result. Because of this, these relatively powerful supernatural beings have also tacitly avoided causing significant impact and confusion in the real world. Watching it change is currently their best choice. Of course, it is also closely related to that incident back then. In Raccoon City, there are various people constantly appearing. Their goal is undoubtedly the honeycomb under the umbrella company. In addition to the special forces sent by the beautiful country, the eyeliner of various countries have also begun to infiltrate into the umbrella company. The leader of the beautiful country looked at the huge creature underground and his face darkened once again. Although he had already learned through means that there was actually an independently operated project under the umbrella company called Beehive. But what he didn't expect was that what lay before him was a huge city. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. They are called lickers and tyrants. You are listening at novelful.audio. The umbrella company will not build the Beehive for the time being, but the most urgent thing is whether what happens in the Beehive is exactly the same as the picture in the light curtain. As the underground beehives gradually reveal their true colors in front of everyone, these countries also have to start doubting the authenticity of what light curtain said. After all, as far as it is concerned, the Beehive, a huge building, is exactly the same as that on the light curtain. Even some details are very similar. Under the ground, the Beehive reappears in the sky. In the synchronized scene, the door of the Beehive is tightly closed, and the machines that normally operate have already stopped rotating, losing the sunlight and electricity. The underground is pitch black, and the troops entering the Beehive can only rely on their military flashlights to illuminate. "Come and take a look here," a soldier said in a deep voice, half kneeling in front of the door. Everyone else immediately approached and looked at the position pointed at by this person. I saw that the tightly closed crack of the door was already filled with dark red, semi-dry blood stains. Are all the people inside the Beehive already? The pupils of the soldiers suddenly dilated, and their expressions were filled with unprecedented solemnity. No, according to the light screen, it will take at least 3 hours for the T-virus to fully spread. They arrived at the scene quickly enough, but the situation still seemed very bad. And now, less than 2 hours have passed since the start of the light screen playback. During this period, the situation inside can be imagined to be very tragic. As the screen played, the soldiers also tried to use their own methods to break through the door in front of them. Huaxiao. Can we say that the top 10 terrorist events are true? It's impossible. Is there really something supernatural in this world? Our country also has. In the past month, 3 students at Longshore University have died, and the cause of death has been determined to be suicide. It's so creepy. I'm getting goosebumps. Does that mean that there should also be supernatural events happening in China? So it's very likely that this light curtain is telling the truth. When I climbed over the wall and saw the internet, everyone was talking about the Raccoon City Umbrella Protection Company. Various helicopters and armed vehicles were deployed, and ordinary people couldn't get close. Let's first take a look at how to solve this issue in the beautiful country. After all, a biochemical crisis can easily spread to other countries. Some supernatural beings have also begun to pay attention to this event, but currently they are only interested in the true sensuality of this light curtain. The title of this light screen is 10 Terrorist Events, which means that in addition to this biochemical crisis, there are also 9 terrorist events. I don't know which ones will make it on the list. Gay-Z and Sadako will definitely make it to the list. Although they come from the same place, their strength is comparable, said the Black Mountain Demon muttering. I think Miss Chu's strength can also make it on the list, said Xiaoqian. Some ghosts and monsters also establish connections with each other, but it doesn't mean that every ghost knows each other. It's also good that we can get to know more powerful people, and at the very least avoid conflicts in the future. Xiaoqian looked at the light curtain with a hint of longing in her eyes. Being a ghost and shedding worldly emotions, she is now more interested in how to become stronger. At present, the various ghosts and monsters are more curious about who the person controlling behind the light curtain is. And as supernatural beings, they don't have to worry about their own safety at all. Ghosts like the Joker, who already have a certain level of strength, although all countries are aware of their existence, there is no way to deal with them. With the current strength of each country, they can only handle some relatively basic supernatural events. Although they generally do not intentionally appear in public view, they are also at peace with other countries. Even if the light curtain really exposes their existence one by one, they have no worries about their own safety. Beehive. The soldiers have forcibly broken open the door of the beehive, and the scene before their eyes is like a picture of human purgatory. The leading officer looked inside and gestured to his teammates to follow. However, just after entering the hive for a while, a series of unfavorable things followed one after another. Oh no, the signal is interrupted. A soldier noticed that the Bluetooth earphone he was carrying had lost its sound, leaving only a sizzling sound. The communication methods have all become ineffective, and the images synchronized with the outside world cannot be linked anymore. Small question, keep moving forward, said the burly man standing at the beginning, who looked like an officer, in a low voice, still leaning forward. The soldiers continued to delve deep into the beehive, and the scenes along the way were unforgettable. Even as soldiers who have been accustomed to bloody scenes on the battlefield for years, they felt unbearable and a slight urge to vomit. There is a strong smell of blood floating in the air, and incomplete corpses can be seen everywhere. Upon closer inspection, the missing parts of the body are all torn wounds and bite marks. It's probably a staff member who has become a zombie, losing control and turning their colleagues into their own kind. Continuing forward, our goal is to rescue ordinary people, the officer said without blinking as he endured the increasingly pungent smell of blood. However, the soldiers were also constantly on guard against the movements around them, and occasionally some inconspicuous zombies rushed towards the army. However, the zombies with weak combat power were not enough to be seen in front of the well-trained army, and the army provided sufficient firepower to eliminate the zombies. Even though the army has been cleaning up zombies all the way, the officer's sense of unfamiliarity is growing stronger. So far, the lickers and tyrants displayed on the screen have not appeared. The strength displayed by lickers and tyrants in the picture is not comparable to that of ordinary zombies. With the intervention of the army and eyeliner of various countries, the secrets of their umbrella companies have been thoroughly exposed to everyone. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. Searching for Alice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, in the screen of light, the figures of a very cautious military group appeared. The soldiers were also somewhat surprised when they saw their figures appearing in the light curtain, but they were all well-trained and able to withstand pressure. They were constantly investigating the situation around them and keeping an eye out for the presence of living people. The barrage of cries for help seems to be gone. Does it mean that all the living beings in the hive have already? Won't it? Isn't the entry of these soldiers becoming meaningless? It is also possible that there are special circumstances in which a living person is unable to send a barrage at this time. I remember when a few shots swept by, there were living people nestled in the corner without making a sound, possibly falling into a coma. Will the army also be infected with the T virus when fully armed? As long as you don't expose your skin to the zombie's body fluids, it should be okay, right? Ah, it's so scary. If it were me, it would be the one who died the fastest, right, said the user with the ID of Jia Yezi. Several supernatural creatures with familiar IDs are not afraid of the big picture and are very enthusiastic about providing various suggestions for reference. After all, for them, boredom is their biggest enemy. There are not many humans still living in the Beehive, and due to the increase in the number of zombies, ordinary people can only flee everywhere in search of a glimmer of hope. In this way, we can only rely on the soldiers to search for rooms one by one, looking for rooms where there may be living people. But with the spread of the T-virus, soldiers cannot search all the rooms and can only try to search for some rooms that have not been completely infected with the T-virus. The time left for them is already less than an hour. At the same time, Umbrella Company urgently held an internal meeting on the Beehive. It seems that the executives of umbrella companies are reluctant to admit that the situation in the hive will be exactly the same as that exposed in the light curtain before, and the consequences of all this seem to be related to their inaction. But for them, the most important thing now is whether the specific situation inside the hive and whether their original research samples can be retrieved through the military. There is also a plan to restart the Beehive. Although the Beehive is now filled with various zombies and monsters such as the liquor tyrant, it is like having more sample cases to study for umbrella companies. At the same time as the danger of beehives, it also fully exposed the greedy side of umbrella companies. The interior of the Beehive has been completely sealed off by the Red Queen, and they can only observe the situation inside through the perspective of the light curtain. However, when the army enters, due to the loss of signal, they cannot know more about the situation inside the Beehive. Fortunately, at this point, the umbrella company can obtain an overview of the situation inside the Beehive through the light curtain, but the light curtain will not always fix the perspective on the army. More often, the light curtain will switch the perspective to that of ordinary people or monsters. The previous distress barrage and the military were unable to obtain more information. If they want to know the true information inside the hive, they may have to personally go to the hive and activate the Red Queen. But after being exposed by the exposure system, the people of the Umbrella Protection Company became hesitant instead. What they are most afraid of is that if there are really problems inside the Beehive, even the Red Queen will be completely destroyed, then the losses for the Umbrella Company will be too great. Alice. Why don't we try to find what the light curtain said about Alice? Asked the person hesitantly. Just as the bullet screen was flashing at lightning speed, he caught sight of a bullet screen. I suggest the military find Alice as soon as possible. It's obvious that she's the protagonist of this biochemical crisis. Even if she's directly injected with the T.Virus, she's fine. This child must be the chosen one. Yeah, at the beginning of the scene, it seems like she was injected with the T.Virus, right? The main perspective of the light curtain has always been given to Alice, so she must be the key figure in the entire event, right? Then I wonder, why did I go earlier? We definitely need to prioritize saving people. Why are you looking for Alice? Complete the main mission, right? It is precisely because of these barrage discussions that the senior management of the Umbrella Company noticed this. In the exposure of the light screen, Alice is the key character in the entire plot. If they can find a way to contact Alice, perhaps they can also recover some of the losses and learn what is going on inside the Beehive. They just didn't take the light curtain seriously before, let alone pay attention to Alice's safety. Let's go find it. The top management of the Umbrella Company gave the order with firm eyes. No matter they are unwilling to admit it again, the current progress seems that the sequence of events exposed in the light curtain is exactly the same. Not long after, the Umbrella Company successfully found Alice based on the content of the video just played in the light screen. Therefore, they were more certain about the authenticity of the light curtain. Through inquiry, the Umbrella Company also learned about the situation inside the Beehive through Alice's mouth. Are you saying that the T-virus can be transmitted in the air, and within 3 hours everyone will completely turn into unconscious zombies? The protective umbrella officer excitedly slammed the table and stared at Alice tightly, not letting go of any of her actions, in case she was lying. Impossible. You're lying. Someone subconsciously retorted. I don't need to lie, that light curtain also appeared inside the hive. Alice raised her eyebrows and said calmly. It's ridiculous that the people in the beehive didn't seem to take what the light curtain said seriously, as if it was a joke between colleagues. Isn't the light curtain telling the story from the beginning? The spread of the T virus only takes 3 hours, and even immortals will find it difficult to save. Alice sneered. The lack of attention from internal personnel in the hive also led to the outbreak of this biochemical crisis. According to the data returned by the hive, at the moment the light curtain was emitted, the core data of the Red Queen had already felt abnormal. That is to say, the light curtain and reality occurred synchronously. Even if the personnel of the hive could detect it in advance, they were unable to stop it, said one person solemnly. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. Entering the beehive, instantly completely extinguishing. You are listening at powerful.Audio. After some twists and turns, they successfully captured Alice and also obtained some data on the Red Queen inside the hive. If the beehive staff can pay attention to or prepare in advance, although it cannot be stopped, perhaps they can also find ways to minimize losses. But they did not take it seriously in advance, and instead maximized the crisis. It is really appropriate to think of the name given to this crisis in the light curtain. What about the licker and the tyrant? Do these two monsters mentioned in the light curtain really exist? Another person asked, looking a little nervous. So far, things in the light screen have almost synchronized with reality, which has led more and more people to doubt the authenticity of the light screen. If you're talking about those monsters with no face and fast movement, then there are indeed. Alice looked disgusted. It seems that I remembered the appearance of the monster and couldn't help but feel a wave of nausea. She witnessed a human being being instantly killed by a licker. Perhaps it was the licker who began to enjoy this rare and delicious meal that allowed her to escape smoothly. Several members of the umbrella company fell into silence for a moment as they listened to Alice's dictation. What Alice said can overlap with the events on the screen, and some data returned by the Red Queen has also proven that Alice's words are true. Given the severity of this matter, even if it were ZF intervention, it would probably not be able to solve the current situation. What should we do now? Said one person with a hint of bitterness. They are not to blame for the current situation. Alice shook her head and shrugged. I don't know, there's nothing I can do. Maybe the light screen will provide a solution after playing the video, and we can brainstorm, one person said, holding out hope. Let's first think of a way to end this situation now. Some things smell and come over. The senior management of the umbrella company took a deep breath of smoke and then spat it out. He squinted his eyes as if he remembered something, then turned his head to look at Alice, his eyes flickering with a thoughtful light. Speaking of which, Alice is a good tool. Alice had already been injected with the T virus before, but it didn't seem to work. Alice's words, actions, and behavior looked completely like a normal human. What exactly happened to Alice was also a curious point for him. Their plan can still be continued to be implemented. The incident involving the umbrella company has undoubtedly attracted high attention from various countries, and many countries are also deeply concerned about it. After all, when this light curtain appeared, no matter what methods countries used, they were unable to obtain any valuable information from this light curtain. In other words, they cannot determine who is manipulating behind this light curtain. But the bio-crisis of umbrella companies is already enough to alert them. 2 hours after the bio-crisis at Umbrella Company, the heads of state urgently convened a secret meeting. Do you have any clues about that light curtain? The Prime Minister of the beautiful country stepped forward and said urgently. The troops they sent into the beehive have all disappeared without any news, whether they were advance troops or special forces. After about 10 minutes of entry, they have completely lost contact, and no news has been transmitted since then. The scene in the light screen, after only giving the military the initial shot, never passed again. Alice has escaped from the hive, and the plot that belongs to her has come to a complete end. Subsequently, the shots in the light curtain were directed to various locations within the beehive. And one of the scenes shocked the leader of the beautiful country, and the pen in his hand couldn't help but tremble. Did you record the footage just now? Play it back immediately. The leader of the beautiful country looked grim and shouted. The secretary standing on the side immediately swapped the synchronized video footage back to the previous location. In the frame of the screen, there is a striking scene of the bodies of all members of the special forces dispatched by the United States at the beginning. Everyone's eyes were wide open, with blood streaks in their eyes. Die without closing one's eyes. The leader of the beautiful country only felt a buzzing sensation in his head, almost unable to support his body. His most elite R-79 special forces were completely annihilated. No wonder there has been no news since the beginning when the army entered the hive, except for the footage. This umbrella company. It seems there is also a lot of private research, said the head of the beautiful country with a gloomy expression, almost dripping water. Beautiful country ZF has always had a very direct relationship with Umbrella Protection Company. Umbrella Protection Company dares to establish underground city beehives without restraint, precisely because of its collusion with beautiful country ZF. While ZF provides protection for umbrella companies, some research projects in the beehive also provide many conveniences for ZF in the beautiful country. The two have always been in a cooperative relationship, but the matter of the Umbrella Protection Company was completely exposed. It was only then that the leaders of the United States realized that the Umbrella Protection Company had considerable ambitions, and they were determined to completely break away from the relationship with the Umbrella Protection Company. But now, what saddens the leader of the beautiful nation the most is that the army he sent to the beehive has been completely destroyed. The military is not mediocre, its strength is strong. Even so, such an army was directly annihilated in just over a dozen minutes. The monsters inside the beehive can be imagined. Fortunately, ZF blocked the beehive in advance and subsequently began evacuating the citizens of Raccoon City, preparing to completely block Raccoon City in the future. This is currently the best solution. As for the monsters inside the beehive, the special forces are completely helpless, let alone ordinary people. A few leaders from different countries present, you look at me, I look at you, all silent. There are some inexplicable things in this world that all countries are aware of. But the problem is, with their current abilities, they may still be unable to compete with these supernatural things. If this light curtain can provide capital for countries to compete with supernatural things through a prophecy-like approach, then the people behind this light curtain are crucial. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10 Rewards. Improved T.Virus drug. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Cough, the matter of the beehive has come to a temporary end. What are your plans for the remaining 9 supernatural events mentioned in the light curtain? Asked the Prime Minister of Neon Kingdom. They have confirmed the authenticity of the light screen, but they still have no idea about the light screen itself. Is it an oracle? Oracle and similar things may seem too exaggerated. But this exposure is equivalent to prophecy, and it does make people feel panicked. This news cannot be shared with the general public at present, otherwise it will definitely cause unrest and panic across various regions. But we also need to find a way to find the person behind the release of this light curtain. No matter what demands he makes, I think it is necessary for us to let him continue to prophesy. Where did you start? You only know that the person behind him is related to the light curtain, but are there any clues that can narrow down the scope? At the roundtable meeting, there was intense discussion from 12 different countries, but there was still no clue. Now these countries are finally paying attention to the impact of light curtains and want to make some changes and adjustments based on the images in the light curtains. However, the scene in the light curtain kept jumping and switching inside the hive as Alice escaped. As countries look at the scenes in the light curtain, they are more eager to have a chance to interact with the people behind the light curtain. And because when the light screen appears, there is no warning at all, and the font on it, although different languages and texts in different countries, is very considerate and replaced with text that everyone can understand. Even if they want to search from the text, there may be no clues. Even if they hire the most linguistically proficient people in the world to examine frame by frame, they cannot glimpse any clues revealing the mysterious person. The characters behind this light curtain are certainly not simple, but it is also very difficult for them to find them. But it is precisely because of this that these countries must find the mysterious person behind this light curtain even more. Send a search warrant worldwide, promising rewards, but if you find the person behind it, don't act rashly, let alone provoke him, someone emphasized. The strength of the mysterious man is unknown, and based on the light curtain he has shown so far, the technological power he possesses is enough to make countries wary. Moreover, based on his familiarity with supernatural beings, it is possible that this person may be implicated in them and should not act recklessly. The search warrant has been issued by various countries, but each country has its own caution. If they can find the person behind the light curtain, they want to take a step ahead of other countries and win over each other. If this mysterious person could be from their own country, that would be even better. At that time, their family will dominate, and they can even use some of the prophecies of the light curtain as chips for trading with other countries. In fact, countries around the world are also prepared for supernatural events. There are some supernatural incidents happening around the world, but these incidents are usually resolved by sending specific organizations. Of course, many times they are futile and even result in the loss of some elites who have not been able to resolve the issue. And some sudden and seemingly eerie supernatural events are even more helpless. Wow, the exposure system of this light screen is even more exciting than movies. I can't help but want to see the remaining 9 supernatural events. I'm so excited. I really want to experience it too. Can you specify it to appear here with me? How could anyone still expect this supernatural event that is linked to the real world? I don't want it even if it's given to me. Don't worry, brothers. Imagine if there were really ghosts or something like that appearing in front of me in this world, I could guarantee that I would be able to hiccup and faint on the spot. This zombie doesn't look as easy to kill as Zongzi, said a user with ID named Xiaoqian. Zongzi. What is Zongzi? Is it edible? Why is the topic off topic again? Can we discuss this biochemical crisis carefully? It feels like it's almost over. The Beehive has been completely sealed off, and Raccoon City is expected to gradually close down in the future to prevent these monsters from appearing around the world. Now it's really the end of the world difficulty. Most people roast about how humane it was. Nobody noticed that some ordinary ID bullets slipped past. After all, for ordinary people, they are powerless and no one wants to live in a world where supernatural events are everywhere. When they saw that they were eager to witness the remaining 9 supernatural events, they increased their efforts to roast. After the exposure of the biochemical crisis, Wuxu continued his classes. After the day's classes were all over, he returned to his dormitory and took out the jar of what was said to be an improved it.Virus drug. He still looked cautiously at the jar of medicine in his hand, which was shimmering with blue water. In the reflection of the night sky, a clear blue liquid slowly flows in the bottle. If this scene is seen by knowledgeable individuals, it can almost be confirmed that Wuxu is related to the biochemical crisis, and even be guessed as a mysterious person related to the light curtain. However, Wuxu is now alone in the dormitory, and no one knows that this seemingly ordinary college student is actually the young man who caused the entire turmoil on the Blue Star today. At this moment, Wuxu still had some unreal feelings, but the 10 million yuan deposit added to his card made him realize that everything that happened between them was real. He went from a heavily indebted millionaire to a millionaire, but he was not happy about it because Yi Wujin knew from the bottom of his heart that if the exposure system exposed the real existence, the world would not be as safe as he imagined. In just 1 month, there have been 3 consecutive deaths related to supernatural events at Longsha University where Yi Wuxu is studying. However, due to regional restrictions and the initial lack of attention, the school's senior management and police have not yet categorized this matter as a supernatural event. Not to mention reporting to relevant organizations for handover. Even if he doesn't want to get involved, at least he must ensure his own safety. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.